All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Fresh Off the Set. I'm Brooke.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are so excited to be talking today because both Sarah and I, at one point in our lives, have been pregnant.
We have been pregnant. I remember it all too well. And you're in the middle of all the feelings.
Yes,
right?
That's the best way. Is like you just don't even know which way is up. All that you know is that something big is happening in your life. And we're so excited to have Kim Myers is going to be talking to us today from Intermountain Healthcare. And she's talking about a topic that is called peripartum depression, right?
Yes.
And I didn't even know what that was.
No, I had never heard that term before. So I think it's something that'll be really interesting to hear her kind of describe because, that's new to me.
Because I'd heard of postpartum and I actually experienced it myself. I had more of like the baby blues kind of mixed in, but it's just such an emotional time in your life. And what I remember the most after delivering my daughter was the guilt that I felt because you've got this brand new baby that's healthy and like you're so blessed and you're so blessed to have this new soul that gets to be with you.
Yeah.
But you're so sad and your body is changing. You feel like you're losing your mind. My anxiety was so bad and you have this overwhelming feeling of guilt. And I'm so excited to hear Kim talk about this because it's normal.
It's normal. We need to normalize talking about this. And, I think the more that women talk about it, the more that we won't feel so alone because I was similar. I think the guilt is something.
I can't even talk to you about that.
No, but it was a lot, and it was, I always say it's probably good that it was my first because I don't know any different, but I think just any new mom, and even if you've had kids before, every experience is different. And I think it's so important for someone like Kim to really talk about these experiences and what people can expect because, it's really hard.
It's hard. And if you're a brand new mom, it can be that you have no idea what's coming, or even if you're a mom for the second, third, fourth time, every time can be different. And I really love how Kim is going to be focusing not just on postpartum, it's the entire from pregnancy all the way on through.
The full spectrum, yes.
Because there's a lot that happens to your body, mind, everything. So Let's dive in. Kim and Kari, please take it away.
I am so excited to introduce our guest of the day on Fresh Off the Set. This is Kim Myers. She's a behavioral health clinic program manager at Intermountain Healthcare and a social worker. Kim, great to see you.
Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Of course, this is such an important topic. We have a lot of mom listeners, a lot of mom viewers, and I wanted to ask you about this term because this is the first time, I have had a child. She's 5 now, but this is the first time I've ever heard this term, peripartum. What is this word?
Peripartum. So peripartum refers to the time just before, during, and after birth. So it's more encompassing than postpartum, which we often talk about as what happens as a mother or a child, like right after the birth. This is more encompassing of kind of the pregnancy, what happens during birth, as well as after.
Okay, so the entire thing, which
absolutely.
It is a thing. It's not just postpartum that we're worried about. And postpartum refers, if people are just hearing that term for the first time, postpartum is after baby, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What risks are there for having peripartum mood disorders?
So peripartum mood disorders, really like mood disorders generally, are very common. And so, we know 1 in 8 moms experience a peripartum mood disorder. And, they can happen, again, during pregnancy. They can be brought on during the birth or happen after pregnancy as you're adjusting to life as a new mom with a new baby.
Yeah. Kim, is it possible to have mood disorder the entire time? When you're pregnant, first trimester, second, third, and then also after? What about it the entire time?
Yeah, absolutely. Mood disorders, related to pregnancy can happen, can be brought on for the first time during a pregnancy or after a birth. They can also worsen if you have a pre-existing, condition of a mood disorder already. It can kind of worsen the experience of that mood disorder, or it can bring on a new episode. Maybe you've had depression or anxiety in the past. It can sort of bring that on for a new episode for a mom going through all that.
Sure. That was my next question is I have suffered from depression in the past. So pre-baby, before I had my baby, I was worried that it was going to get worse, but not necessarily, right? Is there anything we can do to prepare to prevent any of that?
I think there's a lot we can do to really be prepared, take care of ourselves, start having those conversations with our doctor during pregnancy, making sure everyone's aware that you've had a depressive episode before, so that you can take those preventative steps, and really, the general wellness preventative steps that include things like, eat well, sleep well, get some exercise, do self-care, do all of those things in sort of preparation or in a prevention aspect, but also be prepared to, screen and talk about it and be aware if signs and symptoms start coming up, so we can intervene as early as possible.
Now, are we talking pre-pregnancy for all of this, or both? While you're pregnant, obviously you want to be eating healthy, exercising, and then before too, kind of prepare?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just in case,
just to be ready. Incorporating that wellness overall to both, manage any symptoms of depression and anxiety, but also to prevent when possible.
Sure. I think it's really important that we make sure people know that postpartum depression, peripartum mood disorders, it's so common, right?
So common. Yeah, so many women experience it, and for so long, it wasn't really talked about. Mm-hmm. And so when you do experience it as a new mom or as somebody who's pregnant, you feel kind of alone, or like there's something wrong with you. Like, we have this sort of romanticization of parenthood, of being a new mom, that it's this beautiful thing. And some people, go to great efforts to become a parent. And so you feel like you can't have any sort of negative emotions or experiences related to that.
Right.
But it's so common, and talking about it is so important. So we all know that we're not alone, that it's typical, that there's help and support available.
Sure. Let's get into a little bit of baby blues versus postpartum. What is the difference?
Yeah.
Is there a difference?
Yeah. So, like I said, like about 1 in 8 women will experience like a peripartum mood disorder. But most women will experience baby blues. I mean, we're talking about 8 in 10 about women will experience. And some of the things that we think about in sort of differences is how long is it lasting, right? So what's the duration of the symptoms? So if it's like, I'm feeling sad, worrying a lot, but it's lasting for, less than 2 weeks, then that's kind of where we categorize it in baby blues. If it's going on for 2 weeks or longer, or the symptoms are worsening, or they're starting to interfere with your ability to take care of yourself or your child, that's when we start thinking, well, is this moving into more of a depression or an anxiety, as opposed to the baby blues. And so I think, one main takeaway for me, also a mom and have gone through that, is like, talk to somebody, right? Mm-hmm. We don't have to wait until it gets to a certain level of distress or a certain level of symptoms. Like, let's talk about it throughout those experiences, so we know when to sort of pull those levers for the extra supports that we may need to manage these experiences.
Sure. Okay, so going back to baby blues, that's kind of just a couple weeks maybe after you've had your child. Would we need to ask for help at that point if we just feel like it's just baby blues? How would we know? I mean, I know you said if it kind of extends into like a longer period where you're going weeks and months into not feeling great, but if it's just baby blues, do we need to do anything about that, or do we kind of just get through it?
Well, I think definitely, going back to practicing that self-care, right? If you can get a break or take a nap or get, really restful sleep,
yes.
Or somebody can come in and help, clean the house, right? If you can do some of those informal supports that start alleviating some of those stresses, right? That worry, that fear, that anxiety, that stress, that sadness. If there are things that you can do kind of informally in the environment, or that people around you can help do, mm-hmm. and it alleviates it, then let's keep doing those things, right? Let's keep supporting new moms in this process. But if it continues and the things that you do to take care of yourself are not working, then let's have a call. Go into your OBGYN, go into your primary care doctor, and they'll do a screening to kind of see, specific to postpartum depression, and see if there are opportunities for more formal supports that might help as well.
You got to lean on your community and your friends and your family during that time. It's incredible. Even just, I remember my aunt came over and she would help with like a load of laundry, or, watch my daughter while I slept for an hour or something. Even those little teeny things you may not think make a big deal, but it helps, right?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it can make all the difference in the world. And that's been really missing for a lot of new moms the last couple of years with the pandemic, where, we've been kind of more staying away from people, and especially with that worry about a new baby that might get sick or, whatever that might be. It's been even more isolating than it has in the past. And so really reaching out, even, if we're past that sort of perinatal or postpartum phase, a mom that's given birth in the last couple of years has probably had some struggles and felt really isolated. So, yeah, really leaning in to that community support as we move forward.
Sure. When we talk about postpartum phase, how long does that continue after?
So the postpartum phase, I believe, continues up to 9 months after giving birth.
So it can be a minute. It's not just like a couple months. Yeah.
Well, and so, you can experience those throughout that sort of first year after. And so paying attention to, your mental well-being, your mood, and noticing significant changes. And then again, having that opportunity to talk to somebody about it if you're noticing changes in your mood, your ability to sleep, which is obviously very variable that first year anyway.
Yes, it is.
But to kind of carry out those daily functions, then can just get in and start the conversation.
Okay, back to kind of the symptoms and signs if you should be reaching out to someone. So maybe if you're less interested in like daily activities, kind of feeling those symptoms of depression. What if somebody hasn't ever suffered from depression? They have no idea kind of what that's like, but what would be the signs? How would they know?
Yeah, thinking about unexplained changes is kind of how I see the umbrella of these things, right? So all of a sudden, my appetite's really different. Like I'm eating a lot more or a lot less.
Okay.
Or my sleep is really different. Or my mood is just really different. Like I feel really just sad and alone for longer periods of time. Or I feel like an unexplained rage or anger or irritability at things that didn't used to bother me. So really noticing changes, right? Because everyone's baseline is a little bit different.
Sure.
And so then just noticing those changes and how they're affecting, your experience in the world. And then, there's also opportunities to do, free online assessments if you're not sure or things like that. But really noticing, I'm never able to feel happy but when it comes to like, when we think about postpartum or perinatal mood disorders as like, okay, this is something that you need to seek immediate help for, we look for things like having trouble bonding or forming any sort of emotional attachment to your baby, persistently doubting your ability to care for that baby, never feeling good, right? You never have those moments of joy or excitement or, satisfaction at all, or thinking about harming yourself, thinking about harming the baby, experiencing like really intense anger or rage. Or some moms can even experience what's called postpartum psychosis. So really sort of thoughts that are irrational or responding to stimuli that other people aren't experiencing.
Sure. And maybe this is good too for if you do have a partner or, family that's around you during this time to kind of look for those signs too. So it's not just all on you. You may just be so upside down on all your emotions. You may not be sure. So you can have people that help you too, that can say, look, I think that you're not really yourself, so they can help also. So it's not, you don't just feel so alone.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's part of the nature of some of these mood disorders, right? Is that it makes you feel like something's wrong with you or that you did something wrong or, that's kind of the lies that the depression starts to tell you or the anxiety starts to tell you in your brain. And it's easy to get sort of sucked into that. So it's really important for the people around, for support systems to be also looking out, because just the nature of mood disorders makes it hard to take that step to reach out and get that help. So definitely having people that step in and kind of wrap you up and help you in that process is so powerful.
Sure. Yep. Having a team, a community. If we're feeling like we do need to reach out, do we go to our therapist? If we have one, do we go to our OBGYN? Who do we reach out to?
So, I mean, any care provider that you already have as part of your sort of team of support, your professional supports, is a right starting place. If you don't know where to start, I think that OBGYN or primary care provider is a great starting point and can sort of help navigate through, okay, what are the next steps? Like, do we need to start thinking about medication? Would therapy be helpful? Are there other formal resources that we have available? Groups. There can be really powerful postpartum groups where women come together. And again, you don't feel alone. You understand other people are experiencing it. So your provider can help sort of navigate what are some of those next steps available. And if you're disconnected from your provider or can't get in or can't reach them for any reason, you can also reach out to Intermountain's Behavioral Health Navigation Line, which is at 1-833-442-2211. And that line can help also connect into behavioral health resources throughout the state.
That's incredible. And I think it's so important to remind people once again, it is so common and there is light at the end of the tunnel. And for me, medication and therapy, it was like both of those things really helped me to know that, because I think when after, at least for me, after you have your baby and just your world has changed, for good, of course, you have this child, but yet you have so many emotions going on and you just kind of feel like there is no light at the end of the tunnel, and there is. We want to remind people that there is.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that first,
it's tough.
It just flips your world upside down,
Yeah.
And it's so different. And, your relationships change. Everything sort of changes. You have all this like physiological change. Your hormones are constantly changing, whether it be giving birth or breastfeeding or trying to get pregnant, right? All of these things just can be so sort of disruptive. And it feels like, okay, this chaos is kind of permanent. And it's not, right? You find a new normal and people settle in and there's a lot of hope. But if you need help being reminded of that during that time, please reach out.
Please reach out. It's I look back and I laugh at a lot of like funny things I did when I was so sleep deprived, and you'll get through it. Hang in there. We have people like Kim to help, and we have a lot of resources for women who are struggling. And did dads ever experience this? Partners?
Yeah, absolutely. Dads, spouses, partners, other sort of caregivers that might be part of that that support network that are providing, care to a newborn child. Yeah, they can have those experiences. It's a significant change for a spouse as well, right? You're also probably somewhat sleep deprived, going through all these changes. The dynamic in relationship with the spouse or partner has changed, right? So there's so much going on. It can be a grief process, and I think acknowledging that while you've gained something, you've gained this new child, this new member of your family or household, there's a loss too, right? There's a loss of this old life that was different.
The old life of sleep.
Yeah. And acknowledging that, right? Like going to the grocery store by yourself.
That's like my favorite pastime event. It's
Right?
just going to the store by myself. It's amazing. Yeah, it's good to remind people that, I think as moms, a lot of the times we don't want to ask for help. We think, I can do it myself. I don't want to bother people. Ask for help, especially during this time, because people want to help you, and there's so many resources, and this is so common. I almost think maybe doctors plan on. I think with me, I was like, I'm just going to plan on, I'm going to need help, I'm going to need assistance, maybe medication therapy, because it is so common.
Oh, yeah. And some people, work with their provider to plan for, when they start taking medication, or if they sustain medication throughout or after, have those conversations. And again, this is not any sort of like character flaw. These are brain disorders.
Right.
Our brain is our most complicated organ in our body. And of course, sometimes it, dysregulates. And so having support to feel better and get on the right path so you can enjoy, moments of this phase of life is so important. And really, we know that like when we look at like maternal death in Utah, half of those are related to suicide and overdose. So this is critical that we talk about this, that women and caregivers know that they are not alone and there are resources out there.
Yeah.
Because we need everyone.
We do. And just know that this is, and I am no person to give advice other than I only know my own experience, but you can reach out to me on social media. I will talk to you, reach out. I am not a professional, but I just want people to know that there are resources and you're not alone and there's not something wrong with you.
Absolutely. Which for me as a new mom was something I just needed to hear from someone else, right? So that support that we can give each other is really powerful.
It's so powerful. Stick together. Ask for help because we're here for you. Kim, one more time, where can we go if we're thinking we need a little bit of assistance and maybe someone to talk to?
So talk to your OB, your primary care provider. You can call the behavioral health navigation line through Intermountain at 833-442-2211. If it's an emergency, seek care at a access center or an emergency department.
Amazing. Thank you so much for all the advice, Kim. You're just incredible. Kim Myers, Behavioral Health Clinic Program Manager at Intermountain Healthcare and social worker and mom. You're incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for sharing.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for listening to Fresh Off the Set. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe. And we will see you next week. Congrats, you made it to the end. If you want to continue to freshen up your day, you can watch us on Fresh Living every weekday on CBS Channel 2 in Utah at 1 o'clock. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel, KUTV Fresh Living, and follow us on social media. We will see you next week.